With most of the big free agents already signed with teams in the 2024 free agency, I wanted to give out a grade for every signing so far. It's funny, I went live at 6 o'clock when free agency started, and it was very quiet for a few hours, and then deals rolled in late Sunday night. Monday was a very big day as well. And like I said, I'm going to be giving out a letter grade for every notable signing here. So let's get right into it. I think we can actually just rattle off a lot of signings that went down before free agency, but that made a ton of sense between both parties. OG Anunoby getting $212 million over the course of 5 years. The Knicks gave up RJ Barrett, Emmanuel quickly back in December to pick him up. They had to get him back if they wanted to contend for a championship in 2025. It's an A. Pascal Siakam signing a 4-year, $190 million extension with the Indiana Pacers. They give up 3 first-round picks and Bruce Brown to get him back in January. Obviously a no-brainer as well. Another A. Emmanuel quickly signing from the 2020 draft class as a restricted free agent. He got $175 million over the course of 5 years. It's a little bit more than I expected for Emmanuel quickly, so I'm going to give it a B+, but I would still do the deal as well because I think quickly is going to be great in 2025 and onwards for the Toronto Raptors after being traded. Nick Claxton got 4 years, $100 million from the Brooklyn Nets. I'm going to give this a B+ as well. I don't know if he's going to make it through the whole rebuild with Brooklyn, but worst things worse, he could be a trade candidate down the line. Patrick Williams got 5 years, $90 million from the Chicago Bulls. I'm gonna give this a B. It's a little bit more than the mid-level exception, so honestly, $90 million across 5 years really isn't that much anymore and where the cap is headed, but I would like to see some more development improvement from his game, and I do think now if LaVine is gone, DeRozan, Vucevic, we'll see, he could have that time to shine in Chicago. I thought Sacramento getting Malik Monk back for 4 years, $77 million was a fantastic deal. I'm gonna give this an A+ because they had to do this. I thought he was going to leave for more money in free agency, maybe go to Philly, maybe to go to Detroit, maybe go to Orlando, who knew, but they were able to get him back for just 4 years, $77 million. Just I think where the market is headed, that is a great deal for Sacramento, and Monk is still improving each aspect of his game ever since getting drafted from the 2017 draft class. Has definitely turned his career around post-Charlotte days. Obi Toppin getting 4 years, $60 million from the Indiana Pacers. I'm going to give this a B-. I don't mind $15 million a year for Obi Toppin. You just drafted Jarris Walker, though, in the top 10 in the 2023 NBA draft. You just re-signed Pascal Siakam to a ton of money. Obviously, at the 5 spot, you have Miles Turner. Isaiah Jackson is backing him up. Where is the development for Jarris Walker? I don't want to see another Patrick Williams, what we saw in Chicago, happen in Indiana. That would be kind of a shame, honestly. People are saying he could play the small forward position, but they have a lot of wings to give minutes as well. Benedict Mathurin is coming back. Aaron Nesmith's going to play a ton. So I think for OB, $15 million a year is fine. It's just a logjam there at the power forward position for Indiana. That's why I'm giving it a B-. All right, let's break down a lot of deals that happened post free agency starting. We'll start with James Harden returning to the LA Clippers, 2 years, $70 million, but the second year has a player option. I'm going to give this a B. Honestly, the Clippers really didn't have any option here, but it's a 1-year deal. We'll obviously get to Paul George. So this team could be kind of bad next year. There's a chance this team could win under 41 games and be under 500 for the first time in a little bit in the post-Paul George era. Like I said, though, they're a desperate team. Like, they went out and they got Kevin Porter Jr. Like, they had to go out and re-sign James Harden because they gave up so much for him in the beginning of the 2024 season. Multiple first-round picks down the line, a lot of salary filler, a lot of role players. So, yeah, I'm going to give this a B-. I just don't love Harden as a player in age 35, and honestly, if he does play well this year, he's just going to leave for potentially a different scenario if they're bad this year, or he's just going to get another big deal from the Clippers. KCP got 3 years, $66 million from the Orlando Magic, the last year being a player option. I'm going to give this a B+ for the Orlando Magic. The reason it's not an A is because I don't know if KCP was the guy they needed. Now, KCP is a good three-point shooter, but he's not as elite as somebody like a Malik Monk and Anthony Simons on the trade market, or a Klay Thompson, or maybe even what Paul George can be. He's a great defender, but Orlando has a lot of good defenders. What we saw as their weakness in the playoffs this past year was who is setting up, who is going to be another shot creator alongside Paolo Banchero, because Franz Wagner struggled. I don't think it's going to be Jalen Suggs. It's not going to be Isaac or Cole Anthony, I think, on a reliable level. So that's why I thought like Paul George would have been a massive pickup. It's definitely hard to pick up with somebody like a Paul George, and I think KCP is going to be great. They could definitely use his shooting. They don't really need his defense. Like, he's good on that end, and $66 million is a lot. One signing that I just absolutely loved, I did predict this one as well, was Chris Paul going to the San Antonio Spurs for 1 year, $11 million. This is getting an A+. It's a low risk, high reward for San Antonio, and I think it's also a very good contract for Chris Paul. Chris Paul was pretty much released from his contract. They didn't fully guarantee his $30 million for 2025 when Golden State found out they really couldn't leverage him in a Paul George trade. He goes to the Spurs to be the point guard for Victor Wembanyama But oh my god, I am so excited to watch Chris Paul throw Wemby alley-oops, run the pick and roll with him, and CP3 is going to average like 9 assists a night in his age 40 season basically for the San Antonio Spurs. So I am thrilled about that, and it's $11 million. It's a perfect amount for him to potentially get traded at the deadline. He can give the Spurs a great half season, and then they can either buy him out or they could trade him at the deadline so he can go out and try to win a ring, but also give a good half a year development for Wembanyama, just getting him the ball and being a point guard that they need. I'm actually like so thrilled about this signing. OKC gave Isaiah Hartenstein 3 years, $87 million, $29 million a year for iHeart. Now, as a Knicks fan, this one killed me. The Knicks could only offer him 4 years, $76 million because they had his early bird rights. And if there was a chance that maybe Detroit offered him that deal or a non-contending team offered him basically what OKC got, he would have been actually going back to the Knicks. All the reports said that this was a very tough decision, but he had an opportunity to get way more money guaranteed in $87 million and go to a team that could still contend for a championship. It's descending, so it basically makes $30 million in year 1, $29 million in year 2, $27 million in year 3. I'm actually going to give this a B for OKC because getting Hartenstein is phenomenal. And OKC, in my opinion, is going to be the favorites to win the NBA Finals next year. I just think $29 million for Isaiah Hartenstein is a little bit of an overpay for what he's going to be in OKC. Now, for New York, as being like the best big man on the team, doing the dirty work, running pick and rolls, he has a great floater in the paint. He was much more needed for the Knicks, and honestly, what he did for them in the playoffs last year, that's $29 million a year worth. But in OKC, a team that likes to play 5 out at times, and who knows, Isaiah Hartenstein may only get 20 minutes a night, 18 minutes a night, and paying somebody that much money a year to be like your 6th, 7th best player at times, is that really worth it? I think it is a little bit of a big risk. He may not be as impactful for the Thunder as he was for the Knicks because of opportunity he may not have out there with them already having Chet Holmgren, and obviously they also have other guys that can play at the 4 like Jalen Williams, Aaron Wiggins, Vu Dort. And I do wonder, like, it may not work out with Chet and iHeart playing out there together at the same time, and how is that going to be in the playoffs? So I think there's a little bit of risk to that. Obviously they had the money to go out and do so, so I do applaud them doing that. And they had to really go out and make a win now move before they have to pay J-Dub and Chet Holmgren next year. So the timeline is good for it. I just don't think that Hartenstein is going to live up to $29 million a year, but he's still a really good player, and it's going to help the Thunder compete for a title next year. Tyrese Maxey got the rookie max extension from the Philadelphia 76ers, 5 years, $203 million. There could be more incentives if he makes an All-NBA team. Yeah, it's an A+. Tyrese Maxey was so freaking good for the Philadelphia 76ers last year. He showed up in the playoffs and showed, I think, that he could be a 1B to Joel Embiid's 1A. And now you add Paul George. This is a phenomenal signing. And shout out to Maxey betting on himself. I don't know if he would have got the full max last offseason. They decided to push it off for a year so the Sixers could have ultimate cap flexibility as well. So shout out to Maxey for that. It worked out. Klay Thompson got 3 years, $50 million from the Dallas Mavericks in a sign and trade. Shout out to Charlotte, pretty much giving up not much to go out and get Josh Green in this deal. Golden State gets a couple seconds from Dallas in the sign and trade, and obviously Dallas gets Klay Thompson, 3 years, $50 million. I'm going to give this a B+ for them. Now, I do think Klay is past his prime defensively, but he's still a really good three-point shooter, and out of all the role players that Dallas had pretty much in the finals, like PJ Washington, Josh Green, Derrick Jones Jr., these guys were not reliable three-point shooters. You can throw in Tim Hardaway Jr. in there as well. And I know PJ Washington was great against OKC, but I don't think he's consistent enough throughout a 4-series playoff run, and Klay Thompson could be that guy for them. He could be the 3rd best shooter behind Kyrie and Luka Doncic, and someone that has played in plenty of finals before, plenty of big moments, and I think could have a chip on his shoulder trying to prove people that he is worth much more than what maybe the Warriors were willing to offer him, or maybe that the Warriors decided to move on from him, and he could play with that motivation for the Dallas Mavericks next year, who are trying to go back to the finals but are trying to add pieces to win it all. Royce O'Neal got 4 years, $44 million from the Phoenix Suns. I think this is a slight overpay for Royce O'Neal. I thought the defense took a little bit of a step back. I don't know if he's going to be consistent enough as a shooter for them. I'm actually going to give this a C. I think there is a lot of risk to this signing as well, but the Suns, like the Clippers, are a desperate team, and they need to bring most of their guys back. It's just crazy how much money they are paying for most of their core of Beal, Booker, KD, Royce O'Neal, Grayson Allen, and Yusuf Nurkic. I kind of want to just go rapid fire with some of my favorite under the radar, just kind of value signings. Najee Marshall going to the Dallas Mavericks, 3 years, $27 million is an absolute steal. Najee Marshall can defend. He can switch on that end of the floor. He can get in the passing lanes, and he's also someone that can knock down some shots as well. He can finish at the rim. This is a really good value for a nice role player for Dallas, and I think is an upgrade over Derrick Jones Jr. in my opinion. OKC bringing back Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins for basically 4 years, $48 million for Joe, 4 years, years, $47 million for Aaron Wiggins. I'm going to give those both A's. I really like those value signings for two great role players. It didn't really hinder them at all to going out and getting Isaiah Hartenstein. And they got Isaiah Joe, who can knock down threes at an elite clip. They got Aaron Wiggins, who can play some defense, knock down threes, get to the rim. Great role players that are still under the age of 26, and these are such good finds by Sam Presti in the trade market and throughout the draft. Like, Aaron Wiggins was the 55th overall pick. Jalen Smith getting 3 years, $27 million from the Chicago Bulls as well. Like, another A for me. I think this is great value for Jalen Smith, who could be the starting center for the Bulls at the end of the year if they move on from Nikola Vucevic, or there's a chance he could get benched as well throughout the year. I think Jalen Smith is an underrated defender. He can space the floor, which is going to be fun with him and Patrick Williams kind of playing off each other in a little two-man game. So I think that is going to be really fun to watch in Chicago, and I think that's great value for $9 million a year. Kelly Oubre going 2 years, $16 million is phenomenal as well. Kelly Oubre, in my opinion, was super underrated defensively in the playoffs. I thought he did a great job on Jalen Brunson in round 1, so I'm going to give this an A signing as well for Philadelphia. DeAnthony Melton getting 1 year, $12.8 million from the Golden State Warriors. If he could stay healthy, this is a B+, like A- signing for me. I think he can actually replace Klay Thompson in the aggregate. He's maybe not going to be as elite of a three-point shooter, but will make much more of a defensive impact, and I think could be fine shooting the ball, like I said, if he's healthy. But with Steph getting a lot of attention, with Draymond being the facilitator he is in the half court, DeAnthony Melton should get some really good looks, and him and Brandon Bojemski can have a nice two-man game off each other. So I'm a fan of DeAnthony Melton trying to replace Klay Thompson. And yeah, lastly, Paul George signing with the Philadelphia 76ers, 4 years, $211 million. I'm going to give this a B+. I don't think it's an A grade. I am really scared on how this contract is going to look in the final 2 years in his age 36, 37 season, when he's almost going to be 38 years old when this contract ends, and he's going to be making north of $50 million a year, which is kind of crazy. I think Paul George showed a little bit of a decline in the second half of last year's season and in the playoffs. He's had his troubles to stay healthy before consistently, most notably with the Clippers over the last 5 years. And if he can buy in as the number 3 option, then I like it a little bit more. And obviously he's an upgrade over Tobias Harris in a vacuum. I think the defense took a little bit of a step back, and we'll see how he ages. I don't think he's going to age like LeBron. That's not a normal thing, or aging like KD. So we'll see how it's going to look. I would have liked to Philly maybe dish that money out to some role players, but hey, when you have a chance to create a Maxey, Embiid, Paul George big three in a weaker Eastern Conference, you do that, knowing Embiid probably doesn't have that many good prime years left with his injury concerns as well. But if they don't win a title or make it to a conference finals, this could be a really bad signing in a few years, but we'll see if they can compete with New York, Milwaukee, and Boston in the 2025 and 2026 seasons. And oh yeah, I forgot about Tobias Harris as well. He got 2 years, $52 million by the Detroit Pistons to return there. Honestly, it's a B. I actually don't think it's that bad, because he can get out of it kind of early, and he's someone that can at least create his own shot and be another shot creator next to Cade Cunningham. That was the goal this offseason: get guys that have confidence, that can shoot the ball, and hopefully at an efficient level like Tim Hardaway Jr. and Tobias Harris, just to take some of the load off Cade Cunningham, who got that rookie max extension as well. And oh yeah, Jonas Valanciunas, 3 years, $30 million from the Washington Wizards. I'm going to give this a B+. Also, I think this is going to be a beautiful trade candidate at the deadline, but there could be some fun two-man game between Alex Sarr and Jonas Valanciunas next year. So yeah, that is going to be for me. I hope you guys did enjoy me grading most of the notable signings so far. If you did, I would appreciate it if you dropped the thumbs up. As I'm recording this, DeMar DeRozan hasn't signed, Tyus Jones hasn't signed, so don't worry, we're going to talk about those signings as well in later videos. Let me know what you guys think of those grades and these contracts as well in the comments below. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.